The following podcast contains explicit mom language. Discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome to the No Bullshit Moms podcast, where we dive into the world of motherhood with a twist. Join us as we explore the unfiltered, unapologetic, and sometimes controversial side of being a mom. From parenting fails to hot takes on the latest trends, we're here to keep it real and push the boundaries of traditional motherhood. So grab your coffee, put on your favorite pair of mom jeans, and get ready to embrace your inner edgy mom.
She's fancy, I'm trashy, as together, we're keeping it classy. Let's dive in.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome to
No Bullshit Moms
podcast. Hey, that was good.
That was pretty good. I like that one. How's your week been?
You know, I can't complain. It's been pretty chill.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did get my house cleaned, and then I made it a mess the next day, so now I got to clean it again. Isn't that pretty ironic?
I mean, my house is clean, can't you see?
It is very clean. And it smells good, and it's very festive.
I'm a very festive person.
I mean, I put one pumpkin on my porch for Halloween, and now I have to decorate for Thanksgiving. That's too much.
I mean, look at my tree.
It's a cute tree. I'm putting my Christmas tree up.
I mean, that is my Christmas tree, but it's my fall tree.
Yeah, but it's not like Christmas decorated. It's decorated fall-like.
Well, yeah, but
I'm going full Christmas.
I'm having Friendsgiving, so I'm planning on my house looking like fall, and then after Friendsgiving and Thanksgiving, I'll pull out the Christmas.
I'm so excited for Friendsgiving. Well, to start, we're going to talk about the giveaway that we did the last podcast. So
I forgot about it.
I think everybody forgot about it. So we want to give a shout out to all 0 contestants of our giveaway. You know, and there's no shame. I have no shame that nobody.
All over my mic.
I have no shame that nobody did it. None. So
we're new.
Yes. And so we are thanking all 0 of you, and we are going to make up a giveaway winner. So if your name is Olivia and you happen to live in
Layton,
then go ahead and send us an email at
modernmoms@gmail.com.
and you will win our giveaway.
A $15 gift card.
Do you think there's somebody named There's got to be an
There's
Olivia.
There's got to be somebody named
Do you think there's an Olivia? Well, considering we only have 2 followers, that's you and me. Hopefully this reaches an Olivia and Layton. If you are listening.
I mean, to be fair, though, I posted a video of you last night on our Facebook page.
My music video.
And there's been like 75 people who have watched it.
I didn't even know you were going to post that.
I know.
That was me, like real acting character right there. Actually, it wasn't even acting. That was me.
That was really, I mean, that's what we are.
I zoned into my inner, I'm a singer-ness, you know?
Yeah. Why not? I love it.
So we went over the giveaway. Oh, and we did do that challenge the last podcast about talking to mom friends. So did you do your homework?
Yes, I did.
How was your experience?
It was great. I talked to this lady preschool. Yeah. We talked about how small my kid is compared to all the other kids.
She's very small.
So I did follow through and talk to someone.
Good job.
Thank you.
I did mine. But in all fairness, she came up to me because I was staring at her. Sometimes my eyes just get stuck on the people. Do you ever do that? Like it's not that I'm staring to be rude. I'm staring out of, I think people are interesting.
Yeah.
And I stare, but it's like my mouth is wide open and I've got drool coming down, right? Anyway, she approached me and she's like, hi, like irritated.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized, oh, I'm staring at her. So then I was like, oh, hi.
What else have you done this week? Have you done anything fun?
Yeah, I watched a documentary serial killer movie last night. That was fun.
Oh, boy.
That was real fun. I learned a lot.
I put together gift baskets.
I know, and they're cute gift baskets.
Mm-hmm. They're for Friendsgiving.
And I get one, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good this year.
You go prepared. You go above
everywhere
and
I
beyond.
go, I'm prepared.
So let's jump in.
Okay, let's do it.
So, guys, today's podcast is going to be a little different. It's going to be more of a, I would say, serious podcast with a touch of humor, but you're going to see the serious side of us.
Yeah.
Come out, I think.
But there's always humor because you and I can't laugh through something that's serious.
We can't. If you can't laugh at yourself or the situation, then are you really doing it right?
No. Because any traumatic event in my life, I have laughed through.
Well, yeah, and humor really helps you get through things.
It does. That is very true.
So today's podcast it's going to be about everything weight. So from weight issues to eating disorders, which Dari and I have both experienced on different ends of that spectrum. And we've got overweight and extremely underweight. So we're going to kind of touch base on that today and how it's kind of affected both of us and get some insight on the situation.
Which, let's just be fair, is very hard for me to come out and say everything that's because you didn't even know anything.
No, when we went through this, I was kind of taken back and a little surprised. Well, a lot surprised on some of the stuff that Dari was explaining and telling me for the first time. And I will be honest, Dari, I was pretty pissed off as your BFF, your ride or die. I should have known this from the start.
Well, weight's a tricky thing. Very tricky. So, okay. So I'll just go ahead and say I did. So I had gastric bypass, about almost 6 months ago. Almost 6 months.
Yeah.
At the end of May, I had gastric bypass. I had gone into my doctor and pretty much begged to be put on Ozempic or Mounjaro or something.
Do you really fast want to explain what those are?
They're like the weight loss shots that everyone's doing right now. And then I was pre-diabetic at the time. So I assumed that because I was pre-diabetic, they would put me on it to help me lose the weight so that I was no longer in that danger zone of diabetes. But they wouldn't.
Why wouldn't they?
They said that my insurance probably wouldn't cover it, but also it just wasn't an option for me. They told me no. When I told them, is there a way for, I knew that my insurance at the time wasn't going to cover gastric bypass. And so I asked them if that was an option, like for a doctor recommendation, something to help lose the weight. And he told me no, there was absolutely nothing. I cried. I've never cried in a doctor's visit before. I cried in front of the doctor. I cried in front of his student medical person that was with him. I only saw that doctor twice when I did go back after the second time I had gastric bypass. He said I was probably the only patient that ever walked in his office that he thought about for longer, trying to figure out if there was a way to help me, which I thought was really nice. But obviously there was nothing he could do to help me.
So, Dari.
Yeah.
Before you had the gastric bypass surgery, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, so was there some depression that was kind of going on too due to the weight? Well, let's start. To be honest, how much did you weigh before the surgery?
Like my highest weight ever?
Yeah.
My highest weight, I was probably 425 pounds.
Guys, and when she told me that number, I couldn't believe it because I'm telling you, she did not look like that at all.
When I went in for surgery, okay, so I was 425 pounds, but I had gained that a long time ago and lost it and came back. And I teeter-totter a lot with my weight. I mean, I think it depended on what was going on in my life at the time. So I had come down. When I went in for gastric bypass, I was 390.
Okay, so you had dropped a little bit.
I had dropped a little bit.
But you were trying.
Yeah.
You were going through many different diets to try and drop some weight. So it did drop a little bit.
A little bit. But then it stopped and it wouldn't go anywhere after that. And I kind of sat in that 390. I would say between 350 and 390 for the last, 3 or 4 years.
But wasn't that your weight was a big contributing factor to your blood pressure, right?
Yeah. That and like hereditary. So that's what
Oh, your blood pressure it was both. It was hereditary and from weight.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, when I went in for gastric bypass, I had left that doctor's appointment and I called my husband and I said, my stepmom and I had joked a while back that we were going to go to Mexico. And I called my husband and I said, well, let's figure it out because I'm going to Mexico. And I said, I don't care how we have to figure out how we have to pay it, what we have to do. I have to. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like my blood pressures, I was on 6 blood pressure medications.
Dang, girl.
Yeah.
Why did you go to Mexico for the surgery, though?
Because I couldn't have it here. They wouldn't let me.
Why?
And without insurance, it would have costed me, I think when I looked into it without insurance, it was about 30 grand.
Was your insurance not touch it? Or they wouldn't pay for it?
Mm-mm. At the time, I only had insurance through my work, which I work for a nonprofit, so they don't cover a ton. What they cover is great coming from somebody who didn't have insurance for 5 years. The fact that I could go to the doctor again and like make sure all my stuff was okay was wonderful, but no, it wouldn't cover anything. So out of pocket would have been like 35,000 for the gastric, and I had the gastric sleeve.
Dude, that's a lot of money.
Since surgery, I had it at the end of May. I have lost a total, I think I added it up. I don't know. I told you how much I weighed before. As of yesterday, I weighed 275.
Wow.
So
that's almost 200 pounds you've lost.
Yeah.
Guys, and she be looking fresh.
It's weird. It's a weird experience. But I was overweight. I've been overweight my whole life. So.
But being overweight, because I'm interested in this, because mine was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
But being overweight, did you experience any bullying or criticism during that? Like,
yeah, growing up I did.
What age did that start? Do you remember?
I've been overweight my whole life. So the most I can remember, I know it happened when I was like in elementary school. I can remember as far back as probably about 4th or 5th grade. I was being bullied. So up until I was in high school and dropped out.
Well, and then you have that's affecting your mental health on top of everything, and that's not making the situation any better.
No, I never told anybody either. I just dealt with it by myself.
See, guys, she just holds it all in. She wonders why she gets constipated. You gotta let that go, girl. You gotta let it out. Let it out. At least to your best friend. No. I had no idea. None. And I've known you for 17 years.
I don't think anybody knew.
I never seen any signs of depression or bullying or anything, because my view looking at you is I had this admiration because you were such a confident human being. And it's not that I love you any less now.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I admired about you. I had no idea that you struggled with it.
I think that, I don't know, I kind of explained this to you the other day, though, that I feel like part of how people view me, I have RBF. I kind of come off as like a cold bitch sometimes. I don't mean to. I think that's just my hard exterior from putting up with so much shit for so long.
You see, maybe I just see right past it, because when I look at you, I don't feel like you have RBF, but maybe I'm used to it. Because you get told that a lot. And I'm I sit there and stare at your face, trying to find it, but I don't. Maybe it's because I'm looking at you the same way.
Maybe.
And so maybe we both have it. I don't know.
I don't know. But I do think that like, the more I think about it, because as I've gotten older, the RBF has become quite more of a distinctive factor in just my life in general. But I think dealing with so much when I was a kid, I was pissed off more than I was happy, but I never let people know I was so pissed off. I'm sure my family knew I was more pissed off. I was not a very nice teenager.
Well, no, I mean, you were going through a lot.
I was quite the bitch.
Well, aren't we supposed to be a teenager?
To an extent, but I was pretty bad. I mean, I was always a responsible teenager. I always did the things I was supposed to. But I was a bitch. I really was. I was mean. My words will be mean. And that's probably just because I didn't want anyone to see how unhappy I was anyway. So I'd rather just be viewed as an asshole.
You know what? Teach their own.
Yeah.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, did anyone ever diagnose you being so overweight? Did anyone ever bring it to your attention that it was an eating disorder?
No.
So you just found out recently, just like probably going through this journey that what you were going through was in fact an eating disorder.
Yeah, but I figured it out on my own.
See, and that's something, and this is why it's so important to me that we're doing this podcast is to bring awareness that an eating disorder is on both spectrums.
Yeah.
Obesity and underweight. They're both just as dangerous and just as scary, but they are both eating disorders.
Well, and you don't really know. I think when you grow up, I don't know. I think when you grow up, you adapt family traits because I definitely did. My family, I would say that my parents have battled with weight their whole lives as well. My little brother did, but he has, I don't even know how he stays in shape. He stays in shape so well. But I definitely did not fall in that category of being able to lose the weight without help at all. It didn't matter what I did.
No, and I can say that too because I watched you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched you go through before the surgery, in and out, doing so many different things that it wasn't dropping.
No.
You know, when we had spoke about doing this podcast, you had brought it to my attention that there was a couple times that you did try to make yourself throw up. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Probably more than once. I remember a few times, but I would just get so sick of it that I would just attempt it, but I don't have it in me. I don't wish I did, but yeah, I couldn't do it. I tried more than the average person probably should try to do that, but I did. Yeah.
So do you have any idea on how many people actually go to Mexico to get this surgery done?
When I did research for this podcast, it said that, where is it? It said how many people or how much they pay.
Like, I don't know, how much is the cost? Is the cost cheaper? It's got to be cheaper in Mexico, right? Everything's cheaper in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, here it would have costed me it would have been about $20,000 without insurance. But I paid, I think all said and done, I think I paid about $6,000 for it.
Oh my goodness.
And that's with, my parents did buy my flight, which was really nice of them to do. They could tell I was doing this not for reasons that were, I was doing this to save myself. So they did buy my flights. My stepmom went with me. My stepmom had the surgery with me, actually. But yeah,
Which is so cute, like a mother-daughter situation.
Oh yeah, let's just go get some gastric bypass, guys.
I should have came with you guys, and I should have got my hooded eyelids.
I invited you.
I know, but I should have gotten them done because it would probably have been like $2,000.
You thought I was gonna die.
I was convinced, guys. I kid you not. I called her the day of. I called her. She did call me right after surgery, but she was so out of it. I'm like, you need to go to sleep. She had no idea what she was saying, but I've watched scary movies and I've seen people go to Mexico and never return. In fact, this is when I started my journey on how much our organs were. Because I was so worried they were going to harvest her organs. I mean, she's going to Mexico. She's not like she's going to McCady Hospital down the road.
Well, you kept telling me I was going to lose a kidney or my liver or my heart. Well, you did tell me I was going to lose my heart a few times.
Well, do you know how much the heart's worth?
A lot.
$2 million. So let me just say this before we continue on.
Mm-hmm.
For all of you out there who have those moments where you feel that you don't have value in life, like you're like, I have no value, and you're feeling really down on yourself. Girl, boy, whoever, you just remember your net worth is over $2 million just by having a freaking heart. Literally, you have value. You're worth millions.
Oh,
okay, and if that doesn't make you like upbeat and proud to exist, I don't know what is. But I am taking my name off the donor list because I'm counting on that money to put my kid through college or something. So if I die, you need to human traffic my heart.
Oh.
Get that money, Dari. You can keep half.
Just don't tell my work. That's what we're planning to do.
I mean, why let that money go to waste? We're not even talking about the kidneys and everything else.
True. I really could make a lot of money off of you.
You really could.
All right, Min. So that's a little bit about my journey as far as gastric bypass goes. There's definitely not, I think for a long time I felt alone in that, but I definitely know that I'm not. There's more people out there who suffer from being overweight and not being able to lose it. But since I met you, I always knew you had the mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You've been very open about it. You've always been very open about the fact that you had an eating disorder as well.
Oh, yeah. I like run around telling my neighbors.
But now I've learned a lot more about it since we started to do this podcast.
Yeah.
And so I want to know, what kind of eating disorder did you have?
So that's interesting because I would fluctuate in and out of being anorexic, but that was never like my go-to.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, I feel like they kind of intertwine,
Mhm.
you know. I would have to say it was bulimia, but we normally associate bulimia with binging and purging, right?
Yeah.
That's what we see bulimia as. But a
Yeah.
lot of people don't understand that there are other ways to purge. I never wanted to throw up because I didn't want to ruin my teeth. And I don't like I didn't like it. So I don't know how I decided this, but I used laxatives.
Yeah.
Lots of them. We're talking hundreds a night, to the point that the doctors were like, you're gonna literally shit out your colon. Because
Wow.
my body had adapted to it. So I would take 100 and I would have no movements at all. So then I'd have to up it up. I'd have to up it up. I'd have to up it by like 20.
Would you binge though?
I would.
Would
Yep.
you? Like
Mhm.
you'd go eat a bunch of food and
Heck
then
yeah.
you take laxatives.
Like, yeah, I wanted that pizza. I was going to eat that pizza.
Yeah.
But and sometimes, I mean, it fluctuated though, because there were times that I wouldn't eat and then I would still take laxatives. And that's when it started getting really dangerous. But yeah, my go-to was laxatives and it tore my colon up.
Yeah.
Like I'm still dealing with the effects of that eating disorder that started when I was.
What would you say started it?
I think there were some environmental factors in that. I think that, I had an older sister who was like Barbie. I kid you not. She was like size 0 Barbie, right?
Yeah.
And then me, just built different, completely just, my whole body was built different. I think that I started to compare myself to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was 12, that's when it started for me. But I think, and then I also think it's could be part of having a personality disorder as well.
Yeah.
I think that it kind of comes with that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it did start when I was 12 and it continued. I mean, if I don't watch myself, then I can find myself going back into it slightly. But I'm a lot more older. I'm far from being mature, but I'm a lot older. And so I can manage it a lot better than when I was younger and extremely immature. Because like I'm immature, but I like to think that I'm like level up where I was.
Would you say, like, when you looked at people who were overweight or people who were just like normal, what would you feel?
There would be some jealousy.
Yeah.
I would go out and I would watch people and I never looked at them like, oh my gosh, how can you eat that?
Mm-hmm.
I'd look at them with this enviness. Like, why can't I eat some nachos and feel comfortable eating those nachos? And I wouldn't look at the other people's weight because I don't see people for their weight.
Yeah.
But I would look at it and just kind of wish that I could change my thinking so I could eat it without going home and taking hundreds of laxatives just to get those nachos out.
Yeah. Because like I would say that most people, you can hear my dog. I would say that most people, especially nowadays, coming from somebody who's been overweight, that's how they describe you, right? Like if they're like, Dari, the fat one. I have been described that a lot in my life. So you didn't see that when you saw people. You just saw that like they were normal and you felt like.
I see their personalities. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to put this out there and I'm not labeling anybody. But fat people are the funnest people to be around.
You do surround yourself by a lot of people.
Everybody in my life is bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because they're more confident. I mean, come on. When you're around a very skinny, petite person, they scream insecurity. But when you're around somebody that's got a little more on them, they're funny. They've got a great vibe to them. I don't know why. But am I right? Like,
I mean, yeah, because I can relate to it because I know exactly what they're doing.
They're not cocky, I guess you can say.
But the reality of it is they're just as unhappy.
See, but they don't show it.
No, because
but
I
feel like people like me, I could be at 90 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? And you would know just on how unhappy I was.
Yeah.
But I feel like from my perspective, Like when I look at you, I see somebody that was just as unhappy, but was so good at hiding it.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other end of the perspective where I lay, we don't know how to hide it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And like, to me, I think that like, I don't know. It's something that's more known I would say these days than it was back when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
is like people who are bigger they're funny. We adapt a sense of humor about our fatness because it's a way to make it so it's not so mean
Right.
to us. So we end up making ourselves the butt of the jokes instead of like we'd rather beat you to the punch than you beat us, because if we can make fun of ourselves, then that way it takes the sting off. It doesn't burn as much, right?
Okay, now I'm going to be looking at every single person in my life going, did you really just make fun of yourself? And I'm going to say, we need to sit down and have a serious conversation.
It's true though, and I
can see that though.
Yeah,
looking back, I can see.
But I've read a lot of. I mean, I don't know if it's statistically proven. I can't say that, but I would say that I've read a lot of articles about a lot of people who, like, take Chris Farley for example, right?
I don't know who that is.
He's a comedian. He was overweight. He did a lot of drugs and drinking and stuff, but he was funny. He was so funny, and people didn't understand why he was so unhappy. But he was unhappy because he was overweight. But then a lot of people who are overweight are so unhappy, but they end up being the funniest people in the room because we'd rather you pay attention to the fact that we're funny rather than the fact that we're so unhappy and pissed off at ourselves because we let ourselves go. But the reality of that is that we didn't let ourselves go. Our body is just built so much differently, and you can't lose the weight. Like, I wish I could say that if I had done what you had done, it would have worked, but I don't know if it would have.
You see, and it doesn't for everybody.
Yeah.
My body was just built like I could, the crazy thing, like with me,
yeah,
I could lose an easy 10 pounds in a week.
Yeah.
Just by being very careful what I'm eating, whatever. But whereas it's like non-existent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like everybody's body's built different.
And even with the gastric sleeve, it has taken me, I mean, I've dropped it faster and it did jumpstart it for me, but I still go through spurts. Like, I don't know if I was on the phone with you one time and I was like, it's taking a while. Like it's stopping, it's slowing. I'm not losing it as fast as I was. And I don't even know if I had the numbers wrong in my head from where I was at my last doctor's appointment to the one that I had just gone to. But I had lost 18 pounds and I didn't even realize I had lost 18 pounds. Because sometimes the numbers in my head I don't even, like, they're always higher than what they tell me for some reason in my head.
Mm-hmm. See, and I would live by the scale. So I'd pull the scale up, but I was the one counting every ounce.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, I've just gained an ounce. I'm going to skip breakfast.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take 5 more laxatives. So I was very in tune with where I was on that scale.
Well, there were even days like I would eat just 1 meal a day for a long time and I still didn't lose anything.
See, and that blows my mind because if I do that, then I drop it off fast. But then as soon as I start eating normal, I just gain it all back plus some.
But they say that, like, if you do that, like, certain people's bodies you will just hold it. You will hold it.
Yeah, some people
you won't drop it. Your body will just store it all. So what would you say made it spiral out of control?
I would say when I was an adolescent and I kind of went out of control with all my mental health issues, that's when it spiraled out of control, like hardcore. As soon as I was diagnosed as having a personality disorder, I think at that point, it wasn't so much weight. When I got to the thick of it, it wasn't really about weight for me. It was more about control. I was just trying to control my environment. I was trying to control my reactions. I didn't have the coping skills that I needed. And so it became the only thing that I knew that I could control. So I would say that it really went out of control when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, probably before that. I mean, it was really bad. But I mean, just before, just when I had Matt, my daughter, she was just like a couple years old.
Yeah.
And that was the worst it ever got because I went anorexic and bulimic at the same time and ended up having a heart attack over it. So
how much did you do you know how much you weighed?
The lowest that I got in my eating disorder when I was in my adolescence was about 90 pounds. But when I had the heart attack, I want to say it was about maybe 105, which for me, my BMI, healthy BMI for me is my weight would probably be about maybe 120. So I wasn't like, when I hit 90 pounds, like 89, I mean, there was serious talk of a feeding tube, right?
Yeah.
But I could technically be 105, 110 and nobody would say anything. But it's the concept that I was starving myself,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, doing both of them. I mean, and I didn't have the heart attack while I was actually doing it. What happened is about a month after I started to eat again and I wasn't using laxatives, that my body went through a shock because it does.
Yeah.
You can't just start stuffing your face after you've gone through a period of starvation for months. It puts a lot of stress on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was just too much stress and it caused a very short-lived heart attack.
Yeah.
But that scared me enough. And so I started to realize that I've got to find better ways of managing my stress.
And coping with it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. I would say mine was probably, I've battled back and forth with what spiraled it for me, but I can't pinpoint one thing. I would say I've been through a significant amount of trauma and it just piled. So like it would just pile up and pile up and pile up. Or I would say it would spiral out of control when somebody would say something about my weight.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't have the balls, nor would I ever go to another person and say anything about their weight.
Surprisingly, you'd be very surprised at how many like family members would say it. And like growing up, that was a lot, was like family members would say something and they weren't saying it to hurt me. I don't believe they were. I believe they were trying to help me, but at the
they didn't know
same
how
time,
to use their words
yeah,
to help. I
and
mean,
at the
how
same
would
time,
you
it
tell a
didn't help.
child, like, think of your own kids. How would you tell your own child, hey,
Mhm.
we've got to stop eating so much food
Yeah.
without hurting them? Like that's, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what to say. And so, but it still nonetheless still hurts.
Yeah. And I would say that's what spiraled it for me, was like people would say something or somebody would make a remark in my direction and then and then you leave and then you're by yourself and you're like, well, fuck, I'm going to eat a bag of Cheetos. Like, I don't know. But it just got to the point where like, that's how I coped. I coped with it that way.
Well, I do have a question.
Mhm.
So earlier I had asked, I really did ask, do you know how many people, I mean, have you looked that up? How many people do go to Mexico for that surgery?
When I looked it up, according to the medical encyclopedia, approximately 1.4 million have gone to Mexico. This statistic was in the year 2017. So I can only imagine now in 2024 how many have gone. I mean, when I went, it's a whole operation. Like you have no idea how many people were there. And they've got it figured out. There were so many people.
Well, I know when we were doing some research about anorexia,
Mm-hmm.
according to that Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, fewer than 6% of women are diagnosed underweight.
Yeah. Which I think doesn't
that number seem a little low?
It seems low to me because just alone and how many friends that I, associate myself with and who I do surround myself with, 3 of them have an eating disorder, which would be the same type of eating disorder that you have.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe they need to update that. But we also live in a different time and age right now too, though, because I do feel like our kids are not able to go out and experience the same childhood that we did. So they're not as active as we were on our bikes every single night until dark.
Yeah.
From the time school was out until dinner time or past dinner time, and our families at that time, if you didn't like what was for dinner,
you didn't eat it.
But now we cater to our children because we want to make sure they're going to bed with their bellies full. I'm awful at that. So bad. I will make something, she'll look at me. And maybe it's because I cooked it wrong, so I'm like, you want a corn dog? Okay, here you go. But I mean, maybe the time has changed, so that number feels low, but maybe it's really not. I don't know.
But I feel like it seems off to me with how many people in my life. But then again, I don't know how many people were in that
We're just
statistic or
going
not.
off these numbers that we've researched, guys. So if we're wrong, we're wrong. But we're just going off what
We're
we
letting
found.
you know where we found them. What is nervosa? What is that?
It's a really good question because I had to ask myself that too, which is crazy because it goes after, like, you have anorexia nervosa, you have bulimia nervosa. Like it's kind of like that end name, after all the different types of eating disorders.
So
But-
like there's like binge eating nervosa?
Yeah, so nervosa is technically it's like the the medical illness, and it's not a disease. So it is a medical illness, not a disease. But it causes anxiety and control. And with every eating disorder, so there's so many different types of eating disorders. The main cause is anxiety and control issues. But that word intertwines with both the physical symptoms and including body dysphoria. A lot of people that don't know what body dysphoria is so I could look in the mirror and I'm seeing somebody twice the size that I really am. I'm physically seeing that. So when you have an eating disorder, whether it's anorexia, bulimia, you got binge eating, which yours would have been more of a binge eating and I would have been on the bulimia side of it. We see ourselves differently than what we actually are.
Yeah.
But we physically see that. It's a mind game.
Do you think that, like, this just popped in my head. This isn't even in our notes that we wrote down for this. But do you think that in moments of like crisis or moments of like trauma or something, you would binge more and purge more?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it was when my life was spiraled. So when my eating disorder got really bad, when Macklin was just a couple years old, that's when I was going through that separation with Mac's other mom.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to cope with it. My emotions were way, way too intense. So for me to starve myself or to use those laxatives at that time made me feel better. I was able to cope with it. But yes, stress. I mean, and it would be the same on your side. Well, so when you're being bullied, Dari, that's affecting the depression that you're feeling. I mean, mental health all the way. You're feeling bad. You're feeling victimized almost. Like you're not happy with yourself.
Yeah.
So what did you first do? You started to eat.
Well, yeah. Well,
Why?
When you were talking about that, something popped in my head of like, I got bullied a lot in school anyway for my weight, but there was like I can pinpoint a few that have just stuck in my head no matter what throughout my life. But like I can pinpoint one where I was walking home from school and a group of kids that I went to school with, we were all friends at one point. I don't even know what made this happen, but they were just like walking behind me, making like, I don't know, like every time I took a step, like boom, 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 right? Because I was big. And it made me think of like, what is that? Like, what did I do after that? I can't remember, but I probably went home and ate.
Right. But why?
Because I was sad.
And eating made you what?
Feel better.
Better.
Yeah.
So isn't that crazy that that's the whole concept of an eating disorder?
Yeah.
See, I was using laxatives and starving myself to feel better while you were eating to feel better.
Yeah.
But both ends of the spectrum were equally dangerous. Now, I dare say that when we talk about eating disorders, more of us have one than what we think. Because an eating disorder is simply, you want to just look at it in a simple terms, it's an unhealthy relationship with food. And how many people are out there overdoing it at the gym? We put this expectation on exactly what our body has to look like.
Yeah.
But they're at the gym burning all these calories. They're trying to control too. That's an eating disorder. And that is my personal opinion.
I actually did research on it and I didn't put it in our notes. I meant to. But there is.
Is it?
It is. There is. The thing is too much exercising for you. It's bad for you.
So when
because
people
your
are on
body
diets,
needs to rest.
When people are, in my opinion, when people are going hardcore diets, I feel like the relationship with food is extremely unhealthy. Like people are limiting their calories. You know, we're meant to eat these foods. I mean, I'm not talking about going to McDonald's every day unless you're me, but I'm talking these foods, natural foods, all your fruits, all your veggies,
Yeah.
the protein, even fat food, like fatty food.
I would
We're meant to
say
eat them without limiting how much we're going to eat of them. Because they're does that make sense?
it makes sense, but I would say since having gastric, the number one thing that I've learned, and this probably won't work for everybody. I'm not giving anybody dieting advice coming from me.
I'm not giving any advice either.
I'm not giving any advice on this. All I'm saying is, like, I have learned that through the classes that I took and the research and everything that I have followed since having gastric bypass, the number one thing I focus on is my protein. I focus on getting enough protein in my body so that my body can, lose the weight and build muscle. I also work out more than I ever did in my whole life because I can. I never could before. My body hurt too bad. I couldn't even, when I went in for gastric bypass, I could not get on the floor with Joanne. I could not. Because if I had gotten on the floor, I couldn't get back up.
I think we get to that point.
Yeah.
That's the life-changing point, because in mine, I was laying on the couch and I almost had to drink out of a sippy cup because I was so sick that I couldn't sit up, and I think we get to that point and we realize this is the life-changing thing for me, so then I had to prepare myself mentally that this is a healthy way. This is healthy. I'd rather look healthy. I'd rather be healthy. I mean, right now I can't walk up my stairs without being out of breath, but that's a whole different situation. But I think you get to that point where you're like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And you want to change. You want it to.
I just knew that when I had Joe, and I mean, I'm sure we'll have an episode where we talk about more about, the whole situation with Joe. But when I had her and the complications and everything that happened, I could not fathom giving her everything that I could just from me.
Right.
And not being able to run around and play with her and do the fun things that moms can do. I felt so out of control of my own self, because if I couldn't, with my kid running around in, like, what are those? I don't know. They run around.
Little walkers?
Yeah, the walkers. If I couldn't run with her and she's 2, what am I going to do when she's 6?
Right.
I can't keep up with her when she's running in a walker. I can't get down on the ground because my knees would hurt so bad just to get back up. I mean, there was a time when I couldn't do it, and it made me feel so bad because I'm 30. I was 30 years old. I was 30 and I couldn't do half that shit.
But now you can.
I can.
Now you're moving faster than me, girlfriend.
I know. I'm killing it.
I mean, this girl, she's now works out, goes to the gym. She does all this stuff. And there I am, just stretching my legs in bed going, oh, that hurts so bad.
So I know we had a question on when we were doing the research for this podcast was, can eating disorders be genetic?
Yes. That's actually an interesting question. And when I found the results on that, I was blown away. And you made a very valid point. When we do go into the doctors and they do find out that we've got eating disorders, they do ask if anybody else in the family has them.
Yeah.
And I never asked why do they ask
that? The reason I asked you that is because when you're overweight, they ask you if your family has a history of being overweight.
Yes.
Do they ask you that? Okay.
They
so
had
that's
asked if anybody else in the family has suffered from eating disorders, and I always have to say yes. But studies suggest that 33 to 84% pose the risk, just genetics alone. And that's a high.
That's high.
That's high.
For anorexia?
For anorexia, yep. And then 28 to 83% for bulimia and 41 to 57% for binge eating disorders. While genetics play a crucial role, environmental factors also contribute to the development of eating disorders. Culture pressure, you got trauma, psychological factors, and fear from lack of control can interact with these genetic predispositions, potentially triggering the onset of the disorder.
So that's interesting because, I mean, given the fact that, like, there is a history in my family of obesity and a history of, like, having everything that I've had, obviously somebody in my family does have, but I never really thought that somebody with an eating disorder, as far as anorexia or bulimia or something to that fact could lead that to that. Like, I didn't know that.
See, I didn't know that either, but I've got several people within my family, and I won't name names, but there are several people within my family that have struggled with eating disorders, and I really just thought we were more alike than we thought.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it could very well be a genetic thing.
That's really interesting.
Which, guys, when I found out it was genetic, I was like, listen, you can't blame me. I was born with it.
She was born with it.
I was born this way. There's a song that says that.
That Lady Gaga one.
Yeah.
So how would you say that your eating disorder has affected your life and affected your motherhood?
When I was in it, tremendous.
Yeah.
But what I was doing is I started watching the way that I was speaking about my body. I was watching my daughter start speaking about hers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time she was only 4 or 5, but she would get on the scale, or she would say, my belly's big, just little things like that, And so I realized as a mother, I don't want my daughter to ever feel the way that I have felt about my own body. I don't care if she's super little or super big. I don't care. I want her to love herself as is. So we have to be very careful. I've had to learn to be very careful to put that scale away so she's not watching me get on it 6 or 7 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do eat a lot of food, I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I should not have ate that. I'm too full. Because all I'm doing is giving her an unhealthy relationship with food because she's going to associate that with, then I shouldn't eat this much either. And she needs that food to grow.
Yeah.
So having an eating disorder, because it never really goes away. It's kind of like a mental illness. You just have to take it one day at a time. Having an eating disorder and raising a child, you kind of have to learn to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
That's the hardest part, though.
It is so hard. Being a mother in general is hard, but then when you have all these other things that you're trying to control and take care of just so you can show up,
mm-hmm.
It is not for the faint of heart.
No.
And if there's a mom out there that does not struggle with anything, you can just show up and doesn't have to wake up and say the serenity prayer every morning and do a couple meditations just so you don't yell at the mailman for doing absolutely nothing wrong, then good for you. But if you are a mother that literally has to get up and stabilize yourself before your children wake up because you are sliding down that slippery slope, whatever it is you're struggling with, then you are here in the right place on this podcast because you've got 2 of us that we have to practice mindfulness quite a bit.
A lot.
It's reality. It's real.
It is. I would say, yeah.
But I'm interested in how it affects your motherhood.
I would say that before I lost the weight, it affected it a lot. I mentioned I couldn't get on the ground. I couldn't get off the ground. I couldn't run. It's a whole different ballgame when you look at a chair. And if you can imagine this for just a second, if you were to look at a chair and think you can sit in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can sit in that chair. You have no problem sitting in that chair. When I was heavier, I had to look at that chair and say, would that chair break if I sat in it? And the reality of that is that I don't think that anymore. I don't worry about my kids watching me struggle to get off the couch or struggle to do anything like that or worry about sitting in a chair. I can play with them. I can have fun with them. But I also am very aware that growing up, the things that I went through, I want to be aware that my kids aren't going through as well. And it doesn't necessarily just like peg in with the weight, but like if they're eating a lot, I'm not going to mention that.
Right.
If they start to realize that they are having those issues and they come to me, we will discuss them. We will go from there. But I'm not going to put that on my kids to think that that is something that they have to worry about. And I want them to feel or know, and my kids aren't old enough to have this conversation yet. I mean, my stepdaughter's getting a little bit bigger and we will have that discussion eventually. But if they're getting bullied, then I want them to be able to come to me and discuss it with me. No, I can't fix it. I'm not those other kids' parents. But we should be teaching our kids not to bully anybody for any reason whatsoever. I don't give a shit if you're fat. I don't give a shit if you're purple. You shouldn't be making fun of people at all. Because the reality of it is I am 33 years old and I still struggle with it. I still think about the things that the kids said to me in school.
Oh, forever. It's kind of one of those things that are engraved in you.
Yeah. And I probably deal with it more in my life now with the bullying than I did back then, because now I understand it more.
Yep.
So,
the one thing, this is like, just kind of throwing this in, the one thing that I love the most about the way toys are being made right now. Let's look at Barbie for a minute. We have changed the view of Barbie. Now we've got Barbies of all sizes.
Yeah.
Of sizes and colors and everything that shows the real human body. And let's talk about the mannequin.
Yeah.
Used to be those mannequins
go into
were
Target.
pinned straight. Now most of them are showing the curves. They're showing the tummies that none of us. I mean, if you have a flat stomach, good for you. Good for you. Okay? But if you have a little pouch, good for you.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Yeah. When Joe started getting into Barbies, I refused to buy her the Barbies that I grew up with, because there are so many Barbies now. I buy her the African American Barbies.
Oh, yep.
She has more African American Barbies than she has any
My
other
kid will
Barbie.
choose those Barbies.
Yeah. I buy her the Barbies that have the birthing hips.
Yep.
Okay, they have birthing hips. She wanted a pregnant one, so we got a pregnant one.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Yeah. But I refuse to buy her the ones that look like you should
The
be
one
like
that looks like an anorexia.
Yeah.
But
I
even
will
the
not buy them.
models, look at all these different stores. They're shying away from what society used to say is attractive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but as a gay woman, when I see other women out there that are pinned straight,
Yeah.
I don't look twice.
You know what, though? I've always heard this, and we said it the other day in the
I think we talked about it briefly.
I don't know if it's statistically proven. I don't know. But every man I have ever spoke to in my life has always said that they would 10 times rather have a girl with meat on their bones than somebody who was stick thin.
Hands down.
And you know what? I mean, if you are stick thin and that's the way your body is, good for you. I'm happy for you. If you're not struggling with an eating disorder and you look that fucking fantastic, rock it. Get it, girl. I'm so happy for you. But if you are struggling with an eating disorder and you are trying to fit some form,
no,
you shouldn't be doing it.
Don't do it.
You know, I tell my kid all the time, if somebody doesn't like you, that's their own problem. It's not your problem.
I was telling my kid that today. There was that song that came on that we'll play it next week. But it's all about who cares what they think. Who cares?
Yeah.
What if I am crazy? Like, I don't care what you guys think if I really am. And the song has nothing to do with eating disorders, but it was the concept of it. Like, let's just embrace who we really are.
Yeah.
You know, and enjoy that sandwich. Fully enjoy that. Like, just eat it.
Well, I think ultimately coming into in the day and age that we're in right now, as I stumble upon my words, but the day and age that we're living in now, we are embracing women for women just being women, which I wish that when I was a kid, we had embraced it a little bit more.
Yep. There was a stereotype.
Yeah.
And we had to fit this mold.
Yeah.
And some of us could not fit that mold without nearly killing ourselves to try and do so. I
still can't fit that mold.
I don't want to fit the mold.
I don't either. I mean, I don't want to look like everybody else.
No, I want to be the one that looks so opposite from everybody else that they go, there she is. Yeah, girl.
Yeah. I don't. But I think that raising kids in this day and age and watching them be surrounded by body positivity, which is something that's like, fuck, I wish we had that.
Maybe I know. When they came out with that, I was like, I got screwed, man.
Maybe you and I had been a little bit more.
I sat there in the mirror way too long trying to look like Barbie, and I was waiting for that fairy tale to happen. And guess what? Nobody climbed in my window. You know, but if you think about that for a minute, just off subject, you think about that. Those fairy tales are creepy AF.
Which ones are you talking about?
She throws down her hair and has somebody climb up her hair to come and rescue. Girl, that's a stranger. Didn't mommy tell you not to talk to strangers, let alone let him crawl up your hair and some guys coming into your room?
Well, for you, it would have been a girl.
And why is it on every Disney movie all the moms die? Where's Little Mermaid's mom?
Oh, yeah, she's not there.
A parent dies in every movie. Frozen. Parents dead.
Oh, both of them died in that
Beauty
one.
and the Beast.
Oh, yeah. Did the dad die?
No, where's the mom?
Oh, yeah, the mom died. The mom was.
What other Disney movies are there?
Cinderella?
Where's her parent? Her parents died.
No, she's only got the stepmom. Bitch.
Yeah. Okay, and guys, just so you know, fairy tales don't exist, so don't be waiting for your Prince Charming or your princess to be crawling up in your window, because if it's someone's crawling into your window,
We got a
girl,
problem.
we got a problem. They're coming for your heart. They ain't coming to get in your bed. They're coming for your heart.
They're coming for that 2 million.
You must owe a lot in debt. I gotta tell you something funny really fast, and we can end this because this has probably gone too long. The other day, I was sitting in my car. I don't know if this is like a crisis and if I need to seek intervention. But I was sitting there. I was door dashing, of course.
Good news, I'm a crisis intervention.
Okay. I got an order on DoorDash. I was by myself. You were at a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. I started to speak to myself in the Asian. I go, oh, got an order. It's all $2. Oh, it's a $2. I not do you for $2. No, I not do. Then I got another one. I was like, oh, I do you for $6. And then I carried it into McDonald's with me. I was like, I keep getting an order. And I get in my car and I'm all, why did I just go Asian real fast? I was by myself. I wasn't playing or.
You're going to have to call my boss and tell her I can't do 8-hour trainings.
No, because I start speaking Asian. I know I look Asian and that's fine if I speak it. But when I believe it, I need some intervention. And that has nothing to do with this podcast. You cannot leave me alone for that long because then I'm going to go. You're
going Asian right now.
Yes, see, it's a PTSD response. It's a nasty coping skill.
Response. Let me just tell you, I had training for 8 hours the other day, and Mindy, I called Mindy before. I called you before so you could have a conversation with me before.
She did, but it wasn't long enough. It was only 37 minutes.
It was 37 minutes and a half.
I need at least 4 hours.
But I worked with my friend and Drew, the cameraman. And Drew leans over like halfway through the meeting and he's like, Mindy doing okay? And I'm like,
nope.
No, she's not surviving right now. It is 11 o'clock. We have usually been on the phone 4 freaking times by now.
Oh, yeah. I simply could chip a nail and I call her and I go, well, dude. And she's like, what? I just chipped a nail. Oh, girl, you better go get that fixed. I go, okay, I'll call you later. Okay, bye. Then she'll call me and she'll be like, dude. I'm like, what?
Or the other day, I text you. Mindy sells waffles. So I'm looking up waffles for Christmas. She already knew I was going to buy her one.
Oh, I knew it because you know what? There's some weird thing I don't want to claim that I'm psychic, but there has been some talk amongst me and myself that I might be.
No.
But she calls me and I knew the moment that you brought in the whole waffle situation, like she's getting me a waffle maker. And guys, she did. She gave me a poop emoji waffle. If you want the best freaking waffles of your life, just
hit us up on Facebook.
Call me, maybe. Is there a song? Call me, maybe. Hey, guys, I'm not going to start singing on this podcast because I want you guys to stick around.
Call me, maybe.
Well, it's been fun. It's been real fun.
Call me, maybe. What?
I said it's been fun.
It's been fun.
Real.
It's been real.
It's been real
I
fun.
don't know what the next episode's going to be on. We're working on having somebody else on the pod.
Yeah, so you're going to want to listen.
Stay tuned.
But thanks to the no, absolute none, 0 people that participated in that giveaway. Let's try it again.
You know, really, we don't have to be embarrassed or worried that other people are listening.
I don't even care if nobody's listening because guess what? I listen.
I do too.
I'm not doing this with the intent of being famous. I'm doing this because why not? So I really don't care. It does not embarrass me whatsoever.
I mean, I just think that we can help at least one person.
And if not, at least half of that person.
Well, maybe. All right.
Tune in next time. See you later.
Later.